What the fuck was WWE thinking playing the U.S. national anthem in Australia? Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Wrestling is Now Shitty podcast. I am Dr. Legend, joined as always with my esteemed colleague, the best bars close.
And I'm gonna tell all you no good wrestling marks out there, especially those in Perth, Australia. You put one hell of a good show on there. Thank you. Have a good day.
How you been, man?
I'm good, man. How was your week?
I know we missed the show last week, guys. Sorry, I was out of town on that. Tried to see if I could do a mobile setup, but it just didn't work. Wouldn't have the boom on. Can't have that. Can't have the show doing that. But I want to thank everyone who's been tuning in lately, leaving your comments on our YouTube and TikTok page so much. Thanks to all our new subscribers. I have a goal. I want to reach 100 subscribers before the year goes out. I know that seems like such a low, lofty, shitty goal, but I think it's so hard for new YouTube channels to kind of grow and achieve those levels of reach to folks out there in the internet. So that's a goal I think we're having. I think it's very capable for us. So thank you guys so much for supporting us. So if you guys enjoy the content we produce, please hit the like button, leave us a comment on the show, and of course, if you have questions for us that you'd like us to answer on the air, feel free to send us a message to wrestling is wins podcast live at gmail.com. Gladly answer for you. The Crown Jewel is over. Happened early this morning. We've got a lot to talk about before we tuck into that. So why don't we turn on the old boomer trowel and get to dive into the event. First off, our boy back in the news, Karrion Kross, has said that the idea of the "we want Cross" chants wouldn't last forever, and he makes a quote here. He goes, "Of course, that's going to go away eventually. Not that we're banking on that. So much money people are paying for tickets. They're going to have a good time. They're not going to spend all that money." He makes a fantastic point here, but also I want to make the point. Yeah, if Karrion was as big of a star as the fans have you believe, they would still be chanting it. I think it was just kind of a bad thing. Like, hey, let them know here. If you wanted to send WWE a message, you wouldn't stop chanting. But you know what? He does make a fantastic point. The price of tickets are going up. The fans that are paying for those tickets are not going to be the smarky, angry fans that are going in there just to do their opinion and stuff. If you're spending that kind of money, you want to be happy and positive. Be thankful of everything you see there. It's highly unlikely. What do you think?
I think it's hilarious how he actually put in was going to go away eventually, like it was going to proceed for a little bit longer. As far as I can remember, it lasted a grand total of 2 weeks, and then they stopped chanting. So
Well, they didn't chant the Monday Night Raw they were supposed to. People forgot and they got shit for it. So then they chanted a little bit on SmackDown, and then it stopped.
yeah, so it was barely a week. So, I mean, I do appreciate his stance on it. That he'd rather them not chant his name when he's not even on the show, and rather just focus on his friends, who pretty much everyone on the roster is someone he cares about, wants to make money with, and wants them to do well. So, I mean, that's a good thing for Carrion, and I hope that I hope that he gets a job somewhere and proves everybody wrong.
Yeah. Again, I don't wish him foul. I want him to succeed. I want anyone who has the drive and passion. Our, comments are mostly against IWC. That I definitely think he needs to reinvent himself. Like Cody Rhodes, through a fantastic transformation. Came out here just the white meat baby face. Then it was dashing Cody Rhodes, and Stardust, and then he bounced out and finally became the person he needed to become outside of the company, and turned himself from uh, mid to lower mid card guy to a top tier main event. And he had the passion and drive to do that. Changed himself. He did the necessary. And I think if Karrion wants to succeed, he'll have to do something like that. Maybe change, maybe make update, something, differentiate yourself, and he could succeed. Wish him the best, and I'd love to see him back in WWE as a top talent. I think he's got a great look. That's definitely one thing that's hard to achieve. Some people don't have the look, and no matter how you build yourself up or how you can't change. Some people can't change the way they talk. Some people can't change the way they look, their facial features. But I think Karrion has that going. See what happens.
Yeah, all the
Moving
best.
Moving on, guys. When we say wrestling is now shitty, we're not trying to be facetious, but it looks like art is imitating life because if you guys have seen television ratings for SmackDown, AEW Dynamite, and NXT, all started down, and it is of no surprise to myself and saying, looking at the product how it is today, looking that they have out there, the wrestling product is suffering, and you might think as well they're achieving record sales numbers, their merchandising is through the roof. Well, sure, absolutely. When you're selling to whales, they've absolutely dominated the market that the mobile gaming companies have created and cultivated. When you make your whales happy, you can raise your prices and sell them anything, and they will gladly pay those prices and keep you guys afloat. But for the most part, the average consumer isn't biting on this stuff, and I think that's going to hurt them in the long run. I mean, look, SmackDown was almost under 1 million viewers. I don't know the last time. I don't know if that's the lowest rating they've ever had, but that's bad. And even NXT is kind of sinking now, and AEW, it's not just a WWE or AEW. It's a wrestling problem in general. So let's tuck into that.
So it's definitely a wrestling problem. Obviously, the first thing that people are going to say at this time of year is, "Oh, it's football." It's not. Look at the charts. It's literally sloping downward. And one of the key things that I want to focus on is I want you to look at SmackDown. It has some peaks and valleys, especially around like SummerSlam and WrestleMania. But just look at, if you were to just draw a line, it goes from 1.4 down to just barely 1 million. And then you go to like NXT and they're kind of stable around like 700,000, but now they're starting to drop to about upper 600,000. They're losing viewers. Same thing with AEW Dynamite and Collision. And the funniest thing is how much better NXT is doing than AEW Dynamite. Because remember, Dynamite was outdrawing NXT when Dynamite first came out, and that was their big thing. Oh, we're beating NXT, and that would be like if Major League Baseball had a competitor and their competitor was beating their AAA league. Uh, which doesn't even have a broadcast deal. But if let's say they did, and then all of a sudden AAA is out, MLB minor league baseball is out drawing this rival league, it would be they'd be a laughing stock. They'd be a laughing stock. And I mean, SmackDown's combined ratings I think are beating Dynamite and Collision completely. So it's definitely a wrestling thing. I think that 2022 2023 peak and rise, like the post Vince McMahon era, is starting to taper off. And I think a lot of it has to do with just, after a few years, even if you like the product, even if the product is good, you might get kind of tired of it. And I think later on we'll talk about it, but maybe there's some things going on inside the ring that people aren't liking.
No, 100% agree. We have to remember that there is a lot more in now wrestling than there was back in the era. And so not just, WWE is not competing with EW. They are competing with Netflix. They are competing with Hulu. They're competing with Paramount Plus. Every single form of entertainment and distraction available out recently, that's what wrestling. And it doesn't feel like there's a necessity to watch wrestling live. And I can't tell you the last time I sat down and watched an episode of Raw bell to bell live. It might have been 20 years since. Weird to think about that it's been that long. Full episode of Raw,
Yeah.
but I don't see a need to, because if you watch PLEs, they do a pretty good job of summarizing the matches for you and everything going on, and everything that's not on a PLE is not important enough to put on a show, which is kind of sad. Because what last week, no, on Friday for the go home episode of SmackDown, we had a huge return of a star that came in. I said, "Oh, that's cool, he came back." But for spoiler alert, Shinsuke Nakamura. I knew, never been a huge fan of it. Not that I hate him or anything like that, but just like, oh, okay, cool. I like what he does. He had some house, but again, look at that. That episode of SmackDown tanked. Even a big return like that didn't do well, and It's because I don't think people are watching stuff live anymore. No need to. You can be on social media, scrolling your phone, and get big updates and stuff that happens. And I think people would rather share those moments on social media with each other than sit and watch live.
Well, first of all, trying when you mentioned when was the last time you sat down and watched Raw live, if I had to actually pin it, I think for me it would have been like 2006, because right around that time I was still watching wrestling, but I was working when Raw was live, so I'd have to DVR it. Remember we had our
Yeah, yeah.
Dish Network DVR always set up. So yeah, I have not, like, it's been, I think one time I watched AEW Dynamite live because I was working out in my garage and I had it on while I was like on lifting weights and on the exercise bike. I think I did that, but um because you don't have to. You have it all on Netflix, you have it all on Peacock, you have it all on HBO Max. You don't really need to watch it live. So I don't know if these numbers are as concerning um as one might think. They're definitely not great because you kind of do want people, because when you watch something live, like a sporting event, right? Like you want that excitement, right? People are excited to watch the product. It gets them emotionally invested when they don't know what's going to happen on a live television show. And it just kind of goes to show you that, like, having all this access to the product can kind of cheapen it a little bit, I guess you can say. Just having it at your fingertips seems like a nice convenience, but there was something special about Monday Night Raw and Nitro in the mid 90s when you had to watch it live unless you had a friend that was going to tape it for you.
Yeah. Without social media and sharing results and things like that, what's the point? I don't. I honestly like. I would rather scroll social media. The shows are going on, and I get kind of the gist of stuff happening. They'll show the clips. WWE even does it on their own pages. Like, hey, check this out. You don't need to buy a Netflix subscription. We'll show you the best highlights on here. So what's the all right, and finally, before we tuck into the main event, we have a quick update on the Raja Jackson situation. Pled not guilty to the battery charges after he assaulted professional wrestler Stu live on his social media and work. And I'm not surprised that this came in. I'm not surprised he pled not guilty. I mean, who guilty of this, but I'm kind of surprised because I'm really curious to see or hear if the DA tried a plea deal. In this case, the plea deal probably was very, very shitty, which is why, like, you know what? I think Raja and his lawyers, like, we could take our chances, or we could push the DA as they go through the trial and increase the costs, make the DA sweat a little bit and get him to either come down on it, or they think they can honestly convince a jury that this wasn't felony battery. And I would be quite shocked. Given that it's a California jury, maybe not. But the evidence levied against them, there's so much going on, and so I want to tuck into Midnight's professional opinion, see what's going on.
So, if you scroll down in the article, obviously he's pled not guilty to numerous charges, and combined, he does face uh, up to a 7-year prison sentence, mostly because of the enhancement by causing great bodily injury, which was the bone fractures, loss of consciousness, disfigurement because he lost some teeth. Had that not happened, I don't know if he would have been charged with felonious assault. If it was just okay, you just knock the guy out. Um, Whatever, like it is what it is. But now you've knocked him out, you've fractured bones in his face, and you've knocked some teeth out. So you've done some permanent damage to this guy. Now, um, my wife was also a paralegal in the public defender's office. So I kind of asked her, how something like this would play out. And what she said was the DA and their attorneys were likely in contact immediately. They likely before this arraignment were trying to get a plea deal going, and those plea negotiations were probably not to the liking of the defendant. So now the defense is playing a little bit of hardball and going, okay, we're just going to go plead not guilty, and we're going to take you to trial. And we're going to force you to go to work. Um, and what's going to probably happen is as they proceed with the proceedings, and even if they get to a trial, which will probably take 6 months to get to, for something like this, or probably have a plea deal in play as cooler heads start prevailing, because what the DA doesn't want is they don't want a jury of 12 people in which one person can go, "Oh, well, he got his face smashed and he had a concussion, so I'm not gonna convict him on all these charges. I'm gonna hang on the more serious charges and only just hit him with the simple assault and battery because, the guy kinda deserved it for smashing his face in." And Raja is also a young kid who had a concussion, probably wasn't in his right mind, isn't listening to us, like, juries are weird, and I served on a jury once that hung on one of the easiest DUI charges ever. So this is a little bit of hardball by the defense, and I expect a plea deal within the next few months, and it'll probably be quiet because it'll be a sweetheart deal. My guess is because of how serious the charges are up front, Raja will probably get a suspended sentence in county jail. He probably won't go to state prison, but this is just hardball from the defense. Like, oh, you want to give us a guy deal? Fine, we're gonna go not guilty, and we're gonna force you to go through all of the hoops to get to trial.
Do you think there'll be any public pressure on the DA to get Raja to spend felonious, get him convicted on that level? Or do you think they're not even considering public perception?
It's a good question because you see, right now the media was really big on this incident right away, and it's kind of died down.
Very
It's not,
cool.
yeah, it's not that as big of a deal as people think, because even though um it wasn't Rampage that did it. If Rampage did it, it would be a little bit bigger of a deal. But it was Rampage's son, who nobody even knew who he was. I knew who he was because obviously I'm a big Rampage fan. I actually remember Rampage holding a promotion for his son's first amateur fight that a buddy of mine was an inspector at. So, yeah, I don't think so, because it's died down a lot. Like, only MMA fighting and a couple of media sources covered this, and I don't know. I think it's kind of yesterday's news.
Yeah. You know what? I think that's the best for Sicko Stew and recovery. Last thing you need, significance. But at the end of the day, uh, I think as long as justice is served and both the parties agree to it, end of the day, and Sicko Stew is more within his rights to sue civilly if you go that route.
I was gonna say my guess would be is that the prosecution will probably get with Psycho Stu and go, okay, you know what, just come after this guy civilly, because criminally it's gonna be a challenge. We'll get him on something, he'll have a record for this, um, but civilly, Raja's fucked. He's going to have to pay this guy, like, no matter what, he's gonna pay this guy.
All right, that leads us to our main event. We have Crown Jewel in Perth for the first time, Perth, Australia. Pay per view at 5 a.m. for us over the West Coast. Not sure what they were thinking, but as a father of three, including one infant, toddler, and elementary school, I was up well before this, so it worked fine for me. Um, but it was interesting day, interesting card, not to say the least. I have to say though, one of the first things I want to do is right before the show even started, WWE made the bold decision to play the U.S. national anthem at the start of a pay-per-view in Australia. And here's what the fans in Australia thought about it.
By the dawn's early light, what's so bright?
Okay.
That was pretty hard to listen to.
What the fuck was WWE thinking playing the US national anthem in Australia? Okay, I think by now it's almost become a meme on how international fans act during WWE events. And I will give the fans in Perth credit. This almost felt like an Attitude Era show going on because they were up for almost everything. It was fun to watch all these matches because they were so into it. Even simple moves, backdrops, hitch tops, pushes, drop kicks, they were into it. And when the fans are into it, you get more into it as a viewer at home. And them pulling this move here, doing this, I don't know if it's a hot take. But I absolutely stupid. Who in their right mind thought this was a good idea, and who okayed this shit?
This was honestly a very pretentious thing to do, right? Like what this like I expected this from Vince McMahon, right? Vince McMahon fancies himself as a big patriot. Um, but what is the point? I mean, I get it.
What were they
WWE might
hoping to
be
accomplish? Like, I don't get it.
well, here's the funny thing, right? Like in hockey games, um, if one of the teams is either in Canada or from Canada, the arena that it's in will play both the American and Canadian national anthems out of respect for whichever nation's team is visiting, right? Which I think is great, right? Honor. But WWE isn't. I thought it was supposed to be a global company, right? Not an American company. And this isn't the first time that the national anthem is getting booed at sporting events in other countries. Like, not to get I'm not going to get political, but it's starting to happen. So I'm trying to figure out, like, didn't they see this one coming? Like, how pretentious was this?
I don't know whose call this was, but this isn't a Vince McMahon thing because even when Vince held shows outside the US, WrestleMania 6, first big show outside the United States, they sung the Canadian national. And I know Vince is a huge patriot and he wants to showcase that, especially in his. But this was stupid, absolutely moronic. I don't know who okayed this shit. I feel sorry for that lady who was singing because like she's just paid to do a job, and this thing went off as well as puppies drowning. Like they could have showed that instead, and that's the people would have reacted. It was terrible. And it thankfully this was one of the few lows of the show, if any. And if it wasn't wrestling to do it, and can't even rewatch this now. Like I think they edited it out of the replay so they can took this part out for good measure because I couldn't find it again to rewatch it. I had to go find it on social media. But I don't know. I hope they learn their lesson because they can't do if they're especially. I know they don't do this in Saudi. They didn't do this for the other crown jewels. So why they decided to be big and bold here? Well, they've got red, white, and blue on their flag. I think they'll be okay with it. No, shut the fuck up.
They speak English here, right? I mean,
yeah, that's exactly what they want to hear. Oh god. Okay. Well,
dumb move. Dumb move.
So we had another 5-match card for a premium line, and although these 5 matches are important, I was a bit dismayed because look, you are now paying a premium for a premium live event. Okay, we've gotten used to, when did the network launch? Over a decade ago. So we were used to paying about $10 a month for pay-per-views. And those are usually stacked cards full of matches and a lot of big stuff. Now they're selling us less matches for more money. So the quality of the matches have to step up. But even if they're all high quality matches, it still feels like a letdown because there's so many stars. You're in another country, and those stars aren't being showcased. Like, why couldn't CM Punk have a match? Why couldn't Becky Lynch be on the card? Braun Breaker was just a lackey in a part of the match. Why couldn't he have a match with one of the Usos? Open it up. So I just, tucking back to one of the best eras. I look back at 1988, Judgment Day, a pay per view that happened around the same time in October 1998. Look at this. They have 9 matches on the main card for a cheaper cost than what you pay to watch the ESPN one. Now, are all the same? Are all the matches on here the same quality as Crown Jewel? No, of course not. They're not always going to be the same quality. But it's not just about the match quality. It's about showcasing your talent, getting them on the card. Like look at some of the big names that are on here back in the day that people would have loved to see. Imagine you go to a show in Australia, you're a huge CM Punk fan, and he doesn't even show up on the card. How mad would you be?
So this actually has to go with this is the cost of monopoly or monopsonies in anything. I was actually at a friend's house at a barbecue today, and we were talking about how Disneyland's ticket prices are going through the roof. And the one thing we talked about was how you want to know why they're up? Because they can. Because where else are you going to go? There's no new amusement parks. In fact, most of them are shutting down, except for, of course, the big ones. Same thing with WWE. They don't have to give you 13 matches on the card. They could just give you 5 for the same price. Well, actually, for more, and you're going to pay it. But also, and I'm play devil's advocate here and follow me here. One of the big things that really hurt wrestling in, I want to say, the 80s and early to mid 90s was the schedule, right? 300 dates a year. And it was hurting the wrestlers, and the wrestlers were turning to drugs and alcohol, and they were dying, short deaths. Short, they were living short lives, right? So maybe there's a silver lining in that, it also kind of preserves that, that because I mean, if CM Punk wrestled, 5 nights a week, it wouldn't be very special, right? So it's probably a good thing that they kind of hold back talent because you don't want them to get burnt out and injured and all that sort of stuff. So I'm trying to play devil's advocate here and find a silver lining, but it does suck not getting at least a 7 to 8 match card on a premium live event, which the prices are going to start going up in January.
And I will admit, I expected the Earth crowd to be a much smarkier crowd. But man, that was a sea of yellow shirts, and those are all Cena shirts. At first, I was like, God, why are they in yellow? Is that like their national football team or something like that they're wearing and supporting? I was like, no, they're Cena shirts. But for the life of me, they were not smarky at all. These were big time marks. It goes to what you're saying and what I mentioned earlier on the show. When the ticket prices are that expensive, you're paying so much, you don't want to go to a show be mad or to have a bad time. You want to have a good time here, be happy, and whatever's being presented to you. Okay, yeah, this is going to be great. I I don't know if we're going to ever see an era where they're going to be hitting beach balls, saying this match sucks, like they did for WrestleMania main events prior. But I'm I don't know how long they can bleed these whales because if they're paying this much now, they're going to keep ramping up those prices until they hit that plateau. Okay, this is the wall we can hit. Okay, now this is what it costs to see a WWE premium live event. And it's so unfortunate because again, we will probably never see the inside of WWE with how high these. I will not finance fucking WWE. Sorry. No, there's no reason. Anyone else who does it is a fucking.
Well, I think that the Perth crowd, much like a lot of other international crowds, especially the Western English speaking international crowds, United Kingdom, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, those fans are just rowdy in general. just because that's just kind of how they are. Like, I remember watching a UFC fight in London, and the fans that were near the entranceway were slapping the metal barriers to kind of pump the fighters up, something you'd never see an American crowd do. And one of the things that they're kind of like the Philadelphia ECW fans, where they understand that they're the third man in the ring, and that they're a really big part of the show, and they also want to have a good time, kind of like the Raw after WrestleMania crowd. They're like, you know what, this is our show too, and we're gonna make it our show, and we're gonna cheer the things that are good, and we're gonna cheer the baby faces, boo the heels, because we want the show to be good. And those are the true fans out there, because they didn't stick their phones out there to try and record the moment to jerk themselves off on social media. They were there to live in the moment and to enjoy the moment and to enjoy the show. And those are the crowds that deserve, a ticket to see these wrestlers perform.
Fantastic. 100%. So, going to a WWE event was very special. It was been a long time. But to be a part of that crowd and say what you feel like you have the freedom to say it. Now I think, honestly, I believe, and put the tinfoil hat on me if you want to, I believe this is a move to kill the smarks, because you price the smarks out of your events. You don't have to sweat them booing the shit out of your audience and making the product look bad on TV. However, if you look at the ratings, it's going to look bad elsewhere. So either they're not going to, if you're not going to let them into the building to watch the show and they're not going to like it, guess what? They're just not going to watch. Okay. Well, let's get into this match. Let's go through the matches one by one and talk about a bit. So the first match on the card, which surprisingly there was rumors that it was supposed to be the main event, which would have shocked me a bit. It was Roman Reigns versus Big Bronson Reed, a street fight match. They called it an Australian street fight match or whatever, because they were in Australia. You know how they love to name that shit of wherever they're at. But
yeah.
I'm probably in the minority here. I absolutely love this match, and to me, this was the match of the night. It was a banger opener. You had a good build to this match, with the exception of Roman Reigns' return. Did you see Roman's big return on SmackDown 2?
I saw the highlights on Instagram.
Of course you did. This motherfucker got decimated at Clash at Paris. He had his ribs crushed, and everybody knows this is a classic wrestling storyline. That you get injured, then you come back hard, and you come back with heat. And this happens all the time. Hogan, an earthquake at SummerSlam 90. People thought Hogan was gone forever. And when he came back, he was in that ring with the earthquake. The first thing he did was spit Earthquake's face. Like that, okay, that was heat. You knew Hogan was mad, and this was going to be a banger of a match. What the fuck does Roman Reigns do? He takes his time, walk into the ring. He wants his music to hit. This bitch is farming aura before he even gets to the ring. And then he slowly meanders inside and hits a couple of dinky chair shots to get them out of the ring. Like, there's no anger or fire in Roman Reigns. So I was worried about the build for it because of this incident, but the match itself was so much fun. A lot of big spots. They were selling it well, which is lost art in professional wrestling today, which is unfortunate. And the ending was really, really good. It had a really good build to the ending, and getting the Usos involved and Braun Breaker involved, I thought aided to it. And you're pushing the storyline forward. Either you use a PLE to end a big storyline on a bang, or you continue it by adding dramatic elements to it. And this added all of the elements it needed to. I mean, this storyline between Roman and the Usos getting in his way and him talking down. I don't know if you saw this clip of it, but right here, where he's talking after the match.
The whole world thinks I can't do shit on my own. I told you I'm gonna do this thing now.
So yeah, they're all in the ring. They all got beat up, and they're like sweating what's happening. And it's a continuation. It's really like I want to see where this develops to, and I think that this match did it. It hit all those elements. Fun to watch, and I think people are underrating this match, and probably because they're upset that Roman lost. And if you look at it that way, because oh, my favorite guy lost, or he's the big badass, this is his first pin, like he's only lost pinfall to two guys, Bronson Reed and Cody Rhodes, and you're like, oh, you're looking at this. No, look at it from the bigger picture. When the hero falls and he goes down in Act 2, that makes his climactic rise in the third act that much greater. So when he comes back with bigger fire and doing it's going to seem. So take this. It's a small blip on the radar. It's never going to hurt Roman Reigns. He's not going to lose any from this or whatever. But it's a great driving force for this storyline to move forward. And I think it helps everybody involved. And that is the pinnacle of a great match. When you go watch a match, no matter what the result is, everybody involved in that match moves up a level. And I think, oh, well, Jey Uso was a former world champion and now he's down at this level. You know what? I always believe that you rise to your highest incompetence. So I think Jey bouncing back down here is good for him because he needs, like you were saying before, he got lazy and he needs to find his motivation, his passion again. Maybe this is what's going to help him. So, yeah, what do you think?
Well, I want to start by saying I think the Bloodline storyline was one of the best storylines they've ever done with its complexity, and now they're adding just another layer of complexity and another layer to it. I felt like overall this match was good. The ratings for it, the quick critiques on it that I've read were mixed. Some said it was a B, some said it was a C. I felt like it did its job, but also once again, WWE just like at WrestlePalooza, instead of just making it a showcase, it's like no, we're going to move some storylines along. You're going to get a piece of the story even at this special event in Western Australia. um, I thought bringing out the cricket bat was amazing. It popped the crowd, which is what you're supposed to do. You have to, and that's one thing that used to annoy me about wrestling is how they would play to the locals, but you have to play to the locals, right? Like that's a good thing. So yeah, play to the locals, get that cheap pop. Why not? It was fun, right? We're here to have fun. So I think that there's going to be some really good stuff coming up with the bloodline. I think it made everyone better. I think it advanced. The easiest thing to do would have been have Roman go over, but no, they added some complexity to an already great storyline that has a lot of history, and they helped build another monster heel, which is what they need right now. So it was a good match. It did its job.
Yeah, if Roman won, the story would be over. There'd be no.
Exactly.
But to have him lose and go out here, I think it's going to be a great build. I think some people are wanting Roman and Seth to go at WrestleMania because they're building Seth to be monster heel and they want Roman to be brought back up. I don't
think that's going to happen.
I don't care as much, but we can go that in a little bit. But I like what they're doing here, and I think it's good for Bronson Reed because he's becoming a great heel. I mean, his finisher is so simple but so impactful. Great name and a big hit, and it does damage when it hits. I think that's a hallmark of a great talent. Do something like that. I think he's going to go places. Now, is he world champion level? I'm not sure yet. I think he needs to get some more promos. He gets a edge to him, but he's starting to climb, and they're doing it slowly. I love that they're doing it slowly, and they're giving him time to meld and marinate, and they're letting him do it with one of the biggest stars in the. So they're doing it right. This is something the company's doing. I think is in the right direction, and it's good that they started out hot because our next match was Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton. So this is for the wonderful, the Perth Championship crown jewel. They put this big dorky belt on them that's twice the size of their torso. Excuse me. I will say though, we had mentioned that we thought we both were wrong. Okay, thought Io Sky was going to go over championship, not Stephanie Vaquer, because it was too early for Stephanie Vaquer. Well, hate to say I told you so, but the bloom seems to be coming off the Stephanie Vaquer road. Okay, because when she made her dramatic entrance into Crown Jewel, she was met with absolute crowd apathy, which is something I did not expect. And I think I know what the problem is. And her issue is that what is her character? She comes out with these devil horns, like, you know, a maiden of the devil. Her move, the Devil's Kiss, is very over for numerous reasons. She is very talented in the ring. I will give her the absolute credit there. But character-wise, she is all over the place because she's making it like she's this kind of gothic, heelish character, but she has a white meat babyface smile. She looks so happy. Look at some of the things that she's doing in there. She's like holding back tears, and trying not to smile and trying to take it seriously. And I get it. It's her big moment. She's been doing this for years. She homeless at one point, or she didn't have a job. She didn't have anything. All she had was wrestling in her life, doing it and doing this drive, and she's now made it. But it's too fast. It is absolutely too fast. And I don't know if you guys have seen Moneyball, where they talk about the famous Billy Bean and how he was hyped up as a rookie, and they pushed him. You know, the scouts got it wrong. He put him in the majors too soon. They didn't develop him properly, and he powdered out and didn't have the career as a major league player as he should have had for his talent level. And I think that's the case for Stephanie Vaquer here. She is talented in the ring. She is fun to watch in the ring, but I do not care about her matches because there's no other elements being me interested. And the worst part of this, which I can't believe they did, they put a mic on her after her match and expect her to cut some kind of promo to hype us up even further, and she sounded confused. She sounded a little lost. She sounded too happy, and it was the antithesis of this character that she's trying to present. Like, why bother wearing the horns and acting like you're down with the devil when you got a big smile on your face? And it's not a sarcastic smile, but I don't know. What do you take on this?
It's just another one of those things where you dress somebody up in a costume and it does not match their personality at all, and it doesn't match the character that they're portraying at all. Like, um, one kind of example would be like Julia Hart in AEW. Like, she's got this gothic gimmick, but she doesn't have the charisma for the gimmick, right? It's just not her. It doesn't fit her. And Stephanie Vaquer's outfit that she's wearing isn't represented in anything that she's actually doing, right? Like CM Punk, for instance, right? Everything about him screams straight edge,
Counter.
anti
Yeah.
counterculture, anti-corporate, like he looks like himself, right? This does not look like Stephanie Vaquer. I think Stephanie Vaquer should come off more like an athletic outfit because of her how good she is in the ring, like be a wrestling machine type gimmick, like Rhea Ripley. She plays that look, right? Like the black lipstick and the fishnet and all that kind of stuff. Like it works for her. Same thing with like Liv Morgan, right? Her outfit works for her because it's who she is. They just need to redesign her a little bit. They got to repackage her.
Yeah. I feel like if she keeps going down like this, by the time you hit Rumble, they'll be fine with her matches, but they won't care about her character because they'll think, oh, it's almost like a situation where it gets too popular too fast. And no. Is she really worth it? Does she really deserve it? And some people say she will for all these accomplishments, but you guys got to remember, this is wrestling. This is scripted. Are these really accomplishments that she's achieving? Again, Randy Orton is the youngest world champion of all time, but they gave it to him as an FU to Brock Lesnar because he left out on WWE. That's it. So is that really an accolade he can always cement to? end of the day. I mean, I want her to succeed. I think she's got a great talent in the ring, and if they just change her up a bit, let her be herself instead of this thing she's trying to be, I think it'd be more beneficial to her. So, I don't want her to go down this road. I don't want people to hate everybody. I don't want to see apathy set in or even hatred or boring, because that almost happens everywhere. And again, I don't want to go down this road of champion versus chaser, because I think it's still too early for her to decide whether she should be a chaser. She hasn't developed properly. Like, look, how long did Asuka spend in NXT before she came down to the main? Had a proper run, and people absolutely loved her and did all the things. I don't think she needed to spend more time at NXT, but I think she definitely needed putting the belt on her now, strapping a rocket to her. It's almost maybe do the Jey Uso thing. Her, she had to beat Tiffany here, because if she lost this match, she would have been done, absolutely over if she lost this match. Because, well, what is there to say? She's got the rocket on her. If you derail it now, there's no hopping back on that train. People would lose confidence in her. She'd lose confidence in herself, and there'd be nowhere for her character to go. And it'd be just a okay.
Absolutely.
So the third match of the night was the only match not planned for the card. John Cena versus AJ Styles. I have to say, of all the matches to not have a proper plan for, what the why even bother?
People loved this match, though. The fans loved it. I mean, I kind of liked the match. I thought it was pretty fun to watch. I think AJ brings the best out of John. And I think that's just another sign of just how good AJ is, not just being athletic in the ring, but being able to make his opponent look good as well. I mean, I don't know, man. People are raving about it. I thought it was fun.
They think this was the best match. I disagree. I have to admit, though, I've never been a John Cena fan. I say that. I've said it before, and I will continue to say it. I don't hate the guy personally. John Cena is a Hulk Hogan. And I don't mean that in like, oh, he's exactly like Hogan. No. He's booked the exact same as Hulk Hogan is. Comes in there, he takes a beating, he does his 5 moves of doom, and he gets the win. That's how Hogan was booked late early 90s. People got tired of that shtick, and they want to see something different. They booked him this way because the kids started liking Cena as they did. They could get away with it. And they did, because he was a merchandise selling machine. This match specifically, I had problems with, because Cena upped his repertoire of 5 moves of doom, but he did it by stealing everybody else's finishers. And I think it's fun to watch once in a while. You break it out, either to call out somebody you're feuding with, or to spit in the face of the wrestler. Let's say there was a guy Cena and AJ were feuding with. Let's say there was a triple threat match between him, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles, and he busted out the RKO. It's like, hey, by the way, remember when you got hit by this? So did I. I'm going to hit it on you now. Every other move Cena hit in this match was somebody else's finisher. He hit the skull-cracking finale, the RKO, the tombstone pile driver, for God's sakes. Every one of those moves he hit would have put away AJ Styles, but AJ kicked out of him. And I think that was detrimental to the match, not because it wasn't cool to see, but because it made those moves. And, AJ even hit like the Angel's Wings on John Cena, back from his TNA days. And they were kind of playing up his TNA roots in there. AJ is such a talent, though. He did a great job. A couple of times were iffy because they were not selling the moves quickly. I'm not a big fan of popping up as soon as you take a move or being pulled up to your feet. The finish of the match was he took the tombstone and then Cena ripped him up to his feet just so he could give him the attitude adjustment and finish him with his finisher. But other than that, I thought it was a fine match. It was a above average fun match. Good for Cena. You could tell though Cena was aging in the match, because when he did his rollover body slam catch into the AA, he had trouble holding AJ a little bit. You could tell his muscles were a little strained, but he was able to pull through. Thankfully no botches, which as Cena's aging up, you're kind of see. I mean, again, he did it when he was younger. I think the people in Perth got what they wanted to see. I think they were hyped for this match. You could tell in the crowd, the yellow, all the last time is now shirts going on in there. They had a lot of fun with it. The big moment though was the hitting the Sister Abigail. I guess no one expected him to do that. It was a nice little tribute. He kissed AJ on the head there, and before he did the move. But I thought it was fun. It wasn't a storyline match in the slightest. But do you think it's odd that Triple H isn't properly booking Cena's final run? Because literally this match was put together on social.
Yeah, I think that this was a marquee match that they're just throwing together. I think that they um kind of lost direction with Cena's heel turn on how they were going to proceed with this last portion of his run. And I think now they're just throwing out marquee names just to draw and to have fun with. And I think they succeeded because if you think about it, right, like what else do they can't really advance much of a storyline with John. They're not going to have him in any type of complex storyline anymore. They already did the heel turn stuff with the belt and took the belt off of him. So now they just get to do fun marquee stuff in big markets, and it's paying off. I mean, he put some butts in the seats last night, today in Perth. So he did his job, and it was. I thought it was a good match. I will agree to disagree on that one. You're entitled to your wrong opinion.
You know what? Fine. Time was going to tell on this one. Because remember, people are saying John Cena's heel turn was the greatest of all time. Not one of the greatest, the greatest. Time told on that one too.
Was this like the time that you bet me that what was going to be the bigger movie, E.T. or Crush Groove?
Yeah. All right, we gotta mow through this. We only got 10 minutes left and 2 more matches to cover. Thankfully, the 4th match on the card isn't the biggest deal. It had a decent build to it. The Kabuki Warriors versus Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Of course, Australia's own Rhea Ripley in this match. This was, I think, it was a fantastic, Raw main event style match. It was good for the crowd. A pretty obvious ending here. But I think they all worked well. There's 4 fantastic, talented people in the ring working here in this match. And they did its job. I will say though, I think they botched the ending a little bit. Not that the ending was a botch, but they should have changed it a little bit. Where they're building up Kyrie to do this big face turn against Asuka, where she's ordering her around, and she's just kind of this heel lackey. And at the very end, Kyrie got tagged in. They're sitting on the apron, both of them, and Rhea's coming in for a kick, and Kyrie pushes Asuka out of the way and takes the kick before she gets pulled in to get the double finisher. And I honestly think it should have been Asuka pulling her to take the kick or whatever, to help push that storyline a little bit further, if that's the plan. Well, it feels like that's what they're building to. But it just, that the ending fell a little flat. Otherwise, great match. I think this was probably the second best match of the night because of how fun it was. Otherwise, what'd you think?
I mean, overall, I thought the match did fine. I was kind of hoping it wouldn't be gutless and just have Rhea go over like they did. And let what's her face let them have a win. Let the biggest baby face of the night lose. But hey, what can you do?
It's weird because Vince McMahon is always adamant about her winning, and kind of threw that because Bronson Reed and Rhea Ripley won tonight. They're both Australians. Okay, back to the main event of Crown Jewel, and I think the best built match of all of them. Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes. 4th time of a lifetime. Their 4th, meaning Cody is 3-0 against Seth. And the big build here was, what are you going to do if you lose Seth Rollins? Which always points to, yeah, he's going to go over. I think it was pretty obvious that Seth was going to win this one. But they did some great promos in the meantime. I love this clip of it. I really wanted to show this right here. Where's it at? This thing where Seth says to Cody during. So I thought the build was great. I have a big problem with Seth Rollins. His promos are great on paper, but his delivery is just shit. I attribute that to his voice because he has a very kind of higher pitched voice. It's not a mean, grizzly look, and he could develop that if it was his character. But Seth Rollins' character is all over the place. His music, burn it down, a very like evil esque hardcore rock. Like, let's do that. And then he goes into his song and he comes out in the gaudiest outfits and he's wearing all sorts of weird, stuff in the ring. He's not the most physically built or gifted guy, like looks wise, talent wise in the ring. He performs well, but to me, honestly, when I see Seth Rollins, all I see is Diet Triple H, because he's got Triple H's same kind of mentality, almost his same gimmick in a sense, where he's just kind of this dominating heel at some point, or the guy you have to beat, and so on and so. He even uses Triple H's moves, the pedigree. But at the end of the day, I don't care about Seth Rollins. I don't think he's this huge obstacle. I don't think he's a monster heel. I don't think he's the best in the world. Seth Rollins came out and said, look at this, what he said. I proved I'm the greatest of all time in his match promo. Seth Rollins isn't even the best wrestler in his house.
What's funny about this match though is obviously we knew it was going to be a pretty good match, which I thought it was, but there's some general critiques that we need to discuss. But overall, they did a really good job booking the match. Using the Rolex so that way they could put they could put Seth over without hurting Cody, and this actually helps Seth's storyline as a heel if he wants to continue on with Punk, which I think he will, especially if it goes all the way to WrestleMania, which I hope it does. Because could you imagine night 2 of WrestleMania,
So
Punk versus Rollins for the title?
I thought the ending was the best thing of this match, done perfectly. It was executed.
Mhm.
My problem was the middle because it was such a good build. But look, I want to pull this up here. Ted DiBiase was quoted recently. It's so hard for me to watch today's product because when I watch them, it's like, okay, I might as well be watching humbling match because all I see them is doing high spots. I used to take a bump. We call it an ass. The guy picks you up. It looks like he's dropping you on your rear end, right on his leg. I would take that and I would bounce off, and I knew how to hit the rope, and I just right part of my body where my legs would fly up, and I would go over the top. And now today, you do that, they bounce up like nothing would happen. I think that is detriment to what is going on in the in-ring product today. They're not selling. It's not looking devastating. They are just going through an act. And I know we teased a couple of shows ago, the AEW is always gymnastics because they're kind of just bouncing around and doing a. But I think the drama of the sell and taking that injury is a lost art, and no one's doing it anymore. I mean, look what this guy tweeted about the Cody Rhodes doing the crossroads off the top rope. Has to be the least protected finisher for a top guy ever, and it's true.
It
When
is
was
true,
the
yeah.
last time Cody hit a crossroads one time and pinned somebody?
Well, because the Crossroads isn't like it's not a devastating maneuver on its own, right? Like he has to do 3 of them, or he has to do it from over the top rope to
Don't
make it look more
defend it
devastating.
because the F5 is one of the most devastating finishers of all time, and even Brock Lesnar has to do it half a dozen times. It's
Well,
the
that's just
booking.
that's just a bad booking decision, though. You only have to hit somebody with F5 once to make it look like they're really devastated, not the crossroads. But I agree, it's definitely not protected, and I think it's the wrong finisher for him. To be honest with you, I think they could have come up with something better for him. But when it comes to the whole flopping around, Ted DiBiase's absolutely right, and this is what kind of pisses me off about wrestling is but you're saying nobody's doing it. You're actually wrong. Go back to Bad Blood last year, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. You're going to see both Punk and Drew selling the shit out of not only each other, but the cage. Like within the first, I want to say 2 minutes, Punk whips Drew into the cage. Drew acts like he ran into barbed wire. He was like, "Oh," and he sells it, and Punk takes his time, and they take the match slow. They hit their spots, but when they hit their spots, they're devastating, and they take their time, and that is why everybody loved that match, because it just looked more real. So to say that not that nobody's doing anymore isn't 100% true. But they need to stop it with the bouncing up and doing, I mean, I get it. Sometimes it is entertaining, like at WrestleMania where Punk hit the go to sleep on Seth, and then Punk got hit with the spear, and then Rollins came and did the curb stomp on Roman. That looked cool, but if you get hit with go to sleep, you shouldn't be able to do your finisher on somebody right afterwards, right? Like I so they do need to take a step back and rewatch some watch some watch some Bret Hart stuff. Watch some old school Bret Hart stuff, and because people think, oh, Bret Hart was this fast paced technical wrestler. He wasn't. He wasn't. He took
Very
his time.
methodical.
Yes.
Everything he did made sense. Like Cody did a Cody cutter off the top rope and hit Seth with it. Seth was to his feet. Cody
Yeah.
locked him into the crossroads. Like makes no sense whatsoever. And I think the wrestlers used to give each other crap for it. Like I think DDP hit Jeff Jarrett with a diamond cutter on top of the triple cage. And Jeff got to his feet before DDP did. DDP was like, Jeff, down. I just hit you with my
Yeah.
finish.
Yeah.
Make it look good. And like again, I know we know the product's fake, but again, it's like movies. If you saw this shit in movies where a guy took a punch to the face and then just jumped up and hit the guy back and didn't sell it or whatever, I know old movies gets made fun of for that stuff now. That's not something you should be bringing back. We need
No.
to sell. We need to make the moves look devastating. I give Punk credit because he's more of an older guy. He was trained, the hard way back in the indies, when they had to do stuff like that. I think a lot of the guys that come up, they work in developmental a little bit and they train the WWE. That way, I think is wrong. It's
But they're being trained by the wrong guys, though.
Absolutely.
Just because you've wrestled in Ring of Honor, for a few years doesn't qualify you to train guys.
Yeah. It's sad. Overall, I mean, if I were to give the show a rating, I thought it was an above average show. I liked it a lot more than WrestlePalooza. I had more fun, I think, watching the show a little bit. So I'd give it a B. I'd say it's worth a watch.
So did ESPN. They gave it a B as well.
So me and ESPN are on the same side. Like we're, you know what?
It wasn't even on ESPN, and they gave it a better grade.
But yeah, what did you think? What did you give the grade?
Yeah, I would say it was a B. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It was probably like a 8.5 out of 10 show. So it was, like I said, good show. I mean, like I said, I wish there was more than 5 matches, but once again, that just, the absence makes the heart grow fonder. I can't watch CM Punk put on a classic every month, because then it wouldn't be a classic anymore. You'd have to get better and better. So, sometimes less is more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's speaking of less and more, that's all the time we've got for our show this week, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. It's going to be a fun week of wrestling next week, so we hope you'll be back and join us for our next shows. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will catch you all next week.